Hi everyone, welcome to my 10th update for Project Level Up. This project was created by Sophia Alexandra. I'm going to link her channel and intro video down below. But what this project is, it's basically a combination of many different ones, including pan that palette, pan in every palette, pan those eyeshadows, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the goal of this project is to get use out of your palettes and also hit pan on some shades. And you do it by randomly selecting a palette. And if you just started a project, the first thing you start with is level 1. And to complete level 1, you need to hit pan on one shade in a randomly selected palette and use each shade in that palette once. And once you're done with that, you can move on to level 2. And to complete level 2, you need to hit pan on 2 shades and use each shade in the palette twice, and so on and so forth. I'm currently on level 2, but it's my second time doing level 2 because I did levels 1 through 5 already, and instead of doing level 6, I decided to go back to level 1 again, just because it's more fun to me not to pan as many shades, and I'm sure it's more fun for you to watch me change stuff up more often. So yeah, let's just get into the update. But as always, before I continue talking about the project, I just wanted to mention again that the war in Ukraine hasn't ended yet. So if you would like to help, I'm going to list a few organizations that accept donations in the description. If you have the funds, please donate. It means so much. I just want this whole thing to end as soon as possible, and I want my family to be safe and everything. So yeah, again, if you donate, thank you so much. It means the world. But other than that, let's just get into the eyeshadows. So as I mentioned just a few moments ago, I am currently on the level 2. I rolled in my level 2 palette last update, so I've been working on it for 1 month, and my level 2 palette is this palette, which is why am I blanking out on the brand's name? Unearthly Cosmetics, formerly known as Alien Cosmetics, and this is their Hauntingly Glamorous palette, which they made in collaboration with oh my god, Sydney Nicole Adams. I don't know why I'm blanking out on the names today, but so yeah, my goal for this palette was to use each shade in this palette twice and hit pan on 2, and here's what it's looking like today. So as you can see, there's no pan, which I kind of suspected that I won't be able to hit pan just in 1 month on this palette, because I don't know if you can tell, these pans, they're pretty big, and I've never hit pan on an unearthly shade, but I feel like they're deep too, so yeah. But the good thing is I did use each shade in this palette twice times 2 times or more, so one part of the prompt is fulfilled, or whatever you want to say, I don't know. Yeah, so as always, I'm just going to swatch out all the shades that I've used more than twice and talk about them, I guess. So let's just do that. Alright y'all, let's start with the first shade in this palette, which is called Elvira. And Elvira is kind of like an iridescent pink shimmer. It's pretty good. I've used it just twice, and it's not a bad shimmer, but compared to the newer Unearthly formula, this is not as exciting, so not bad, but not like wow, incredible. Yeah, moving on, we have the next shade, which I feel like by the dip in it, you can tell that this is one of the shades that I'm trying to hit pan on. It's called Lily, right? Yes. So Lily is kind of similar to, what's it called? Oh my god, Elvira. Lily is kind of similar to Elvira in that it's also iridescent shade, but instead of being pink, it's more like a teal sort of situation. But yeah, I hope you can see this dip. It's pretty big. I've used this shade 15 times, so usually I feel like I usually tend to hit pan on shades in around 15 use mark, but not this one. But also I've been mostly using it as an inner corner shade, and when I use a shade just for that purpose, it takes me a long time to hit pan on it. So yeah, it's a very nice shade for inner corner purposes, and I also used it a couple of times to top it over some mattes, and it looked nice, but it's not, again, similar to Elvira, it's not a sparkly, shifty kind of situation. So yeah, and here's a swatch of it on the top there. So as you can see, it's more like your traditional shimmer. Nothing bad about that, but when you tried a lot of like indie shadows, you're kind of hard to impress. So yeah, moving on, the next shade in the palette is called Morticia, and it's like this bright red shimmer, oh, not shimmer, matte, sorry, bright red matte. I've used it only twice, so not much to say about it. And moving on, we have the shade Vampira, which I have used 3 times. And it's also a wonderful red matte, but more like a deeper kind. It performs wonderfully, but I would say it's not my favorite kind of dark red matte. I'm very picky about red eyeshadow, because I feel like a lot of red eyeshadow, pretty much most of kind of this type of dark, well, actually, honestly, all kinds of red eyeshadow, when you blend it out, it turns into pink. So even if you, like, if you're doing a one shadow red look and you just take one of these and blend it out, it almost leans more pink, so it doesn't really look red, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine. And it's very petty, I know, but yeah, it's very hard to find a red matte that doesn't do that, and all the ones that I have found were from palettes that are now discontinued, which is so annoying. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, just to say that this is not my favorite tone of red, but it's a good performing shadow. Moving on, the next shade we have is called Movie Macabre. I hope you can see it. It's what would I call you? I guess an emerald matte, or like a, I guess some people call this color a peacock blue. I've used it twice as well, and it's a good dark matte, just like Vampira. Yeah. Moving on, we have another shade that I've used 3 times, right? Oh, actually 4 times, wow. It's called Pale and Mysterious, and I feel like it's such a spooky color. It's kind of like it's a green, but it's like like, to me, it's a Frankenstein skin green, if it makes any sense. It's very like ashy, but like in a good way. But also it's not like your typical grungy color because it has more white in it. Yeah, I don't know. What would you call this color? Comment down below. But I really like this shade. As you can tell, I used it more than I had to. So yeah. Oh, and I keep forgetting. So on the top there is that dark red I was just talking about called Vampira. And down below over here is Pale and Mysterious. So as you can see, it's very pigmented shade and it's just so fun. So yeah. Moving on, we have the only sequin shade in this palette, which is called Glamour Ghoul. Over here, it's kind of like a lime green, I would say, right? Yes, sort of, right? And I mean, it's a good shade. I used it twice, and I'm just not the biggest fan of sequin shades. But I mean, it works fine as a matte too. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this shade, so let's just move on to the next one. And the next shade is called Blood Curdling, and it is a teal matte, I would say. It's very cool, and I used it just twice, so not much to report on either. Moving on, the next shade we have here is called Unhappy Darling, which is kind of like a plummy matte. Very beautiful color. And I've used it also just twice. So again, nothing crazy to report. And the next shade next to it is called Drop Dead Gorgeous, and it is what do I call you? I feel like it's kind of like an aubergine color. Yeah, it's also very pretty, and it's kind of like a brighter version of Unhappy Darling. So yeah. Also, I don't know if I mentioned I used it twice as well, so again, not that much to talk about here. Moving on to the last two shades, we have Seance Weather. I feel like this shade was the last one I had to have 2 uses on each shade in this palette. And it's kind of like an indigo color, I think. It's also very beautiful, and I used it actually once in the similar way as I've used a shade from the palette that I was working on the previous level, or however you would say that, the shade from Giant Wolves, because that palette had a very similar shade in it too. So I also like put a gray, taupey gray in the crease, and then just put this on the lid and on the lower lash line, and topped Kimchi Chic Pearl Gone Wild highlighter over it, and it's just, I really like that look. I think it's very pretty. And yeah, moving on to the last shade in the palette, which is, as you can tell hopefully by the dip, it's another one I was trying to hit pan on, and it's called, what do you call it? Unpleasant Dreams. And I love this shade so much. It's so beautiful. It's kind of like a periwinkle blue. It's gorgeous. Here's a swatch of it so you can tell. Yeah, it's a great shade. So I'm actually panning my second periwinkle in this project. The first one was in the palette that I had on level 3 the first time I did this whole thing, which was It's Freaking Bats by Shroud and Betty Jean, or Betty Bean, which is her new username or YouTube name, whatever. Yeah. So as you can tell, I like Periwinkle. And yeah, I really like the shade. It's wonderful quality, actually much better than the one in the It's Freaking Bats palette, but that's neither here or there. Yeah, it's a great shade. I used it a lot as like a one shadow look, just like on my lid, and I really like it, so I'm not complaining about having to work on it even longer because I still don't have a pen in it. And I forgot to mention, but I've used it 14 times, which is not a small number, I would say, but no pen just yet. So that was the whole palette. Yeah, so because I haven't hit pan on any of the shades that I wanted to, or any shade in the palette for that matter, this palette is going to stay in the project for now. So not the most exciting update, but I hope that I will have pan in this palette, 2 pans in this palette by the next update. So yeah, I think that is it. So yeah, sorry for no pen this time. Again, hopefully next update we will have pen in both shades because I want to wrap up this project next update, for similarly to my Pentos eyeshadows one. I don't know if you follow that project, but I mentioned that in my previous video. I feel like I need a break. I've been really stressed out with like school and stuff, and I'm trying to apply to grad school right now. So I've had a lot on my plate, and yeah, I need 1 month of not worrying about stuff. So yeah, all the rumbling aside, I think it's time to wrap up this video. So thank you so much for watching. It means a lot, and I hope you're doing well. Take care. Bye.